Okay, so hello everyone, a very good evening to all of you. Uh, so just a small check before we start with today's session. Am I clearly audible or not? Just having a small check. Okay, so hello everyone. Okay, perfect. Okay. So once again, a very good evening, all of you. So we are here and finally going to take up the analysis for the All India Open SimCLAT 30. That is going to be, or that is to be the last SimCLAT which all the CLAT 2026 aspirants have given. So it was a great journey with all the students who have given all these sim tests, and these were not the only numbers you have been given certain take-home SimCLATs also. So near about more than 50 to 60 SimCLATs you are given in the entire session. So this particular session is going to talk about the All India Open SimCLAT. So me with the other mentors are over there. We're gonna take up like we always used to take up the individual sessions. So we're gonna do it that way. So we'll start first with the overall analysis. So as you can see that since the total number of questions is 120, and but keeping in mind the previous sim test and also ranging from sim test 1 to sim test 17 18, it was an easy journey for the students. But when we talk about the sim class which were majorly in the past 4 to 5 marks, it has not been a cakewalk for everyone. Okay, as you can see, the total number of questions for all the sections are there for legal, logical, English, current affairs, quant. So majorly we have kept it the number at par with main CLAT. The total is 120. But the number of attempts, as you can see it overall, the attempts for legal is comparatively less. Normally we see we will be able to attempt the entire question. So why it has happened, I'm going to take it up that. For logical English, we have another ma'am who is going to take you up. But you see, for logical reasoning, the number of attempts has been less. So that's why the score is comparatively less. That means students were not easily being able to cover up the logical, and it has become somewhere pain also that we are not able to cope up with because there are certain tricky based questions or the options which the students were not able to take it. Okay. Next we have English language section, which is somewhere on the easy side. That means students were able to attempt it, and you would have been able to attempt it if you have given the particular All India Open mock. So the score is again ranging between 18 to 22. Then we talk about current affairs again on the moderate side. So initially the paragraphs were a doable one, and the later ones were on the moderate side. So we have kept it at the moderate level only. So out of 30 questions, doable 20 to 24 questions were there, and score भी 19-20. मतलब बहुत ज्यादा overwhelming भी नहीं होगा, but बहुत ज्यादा depressing also not there. So that is where. But for quant, if we talk about, there were two caselets. Initial first caselet a doable one, but for the second one out of six, 3-4 questions doable the. That's why the score range have been 6 to 7. So overall score, if you are in the range of let's say 85 to 93, it is considered to be a good score for the students. So that is what maybe 89 to 93 ke beech mein. If someone have got more than that, expecting ki you will gonna get a good all India rank. Okay. So now I'm gonna start with the legal reasoning section. So overall in the entire legal reasoning section, 5 paragraphs, 6 questions each. The first paragraph, a doable one, which was related with the legal doctrine, but completely related with the criminal law portion से related था. A very much approachable, a doable question. So इसके total 6 question. Even not in this particular part, if you talk about all the other 5 paragraphs, the questions were completely factual based. That means there were situations, circumstances given, and then you have to identify whether the answer is yes or no, whether the liability move or to not. But there were 2 questions in this and the another paragraph also. I'm going to take you up to that part. जिसमें क्वेश्चन में the suggestion on your basis, मतलब what you have understood उसके basis पे पूछा गया था. So majorly I think question number 4th and the 5th one in the first paragraph turned out to be. तो इसीलिए easy था, doable था, all 6 could have been done. Let's we move towards the second paragraph, which was again related to the topic preventive detention. Known है, criminal law में पढ़ा हुआ है. तो but this was with a decided case जहाँ पे it was related with DY Chandrachud have given a decision in the being the CJ of the Supreme Court when CJ of India and the judge of the Supreme Court. But the paragraph language was not easy because थोड़ा CLK से the current legal context it was थोड़ा सा होता हुआ. ठीक है. Before I move forward, just a small check once again. Am I clearly audible, visible to all the students? Can I have a response in the live chat fast, please? Am I clearly audible, visible, everyone? Can I please get a response? Okay. Can I get a yes from the students in the chat box? Okay, ठीक है. Now talking about this paragraph, so that's why I told you that thoda sa it was on the moderate side. The only reason was related with current legal. But the questions were again factual based. All questions were easy. About type of questions इसमें नहीं थे because again situations vary. तो 6 situations. But if we talk about the framing of those situations, the circumstances, थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट होगा क्योंकि 4 लाइन क्वेश्चन थे. मतलब एज वी टॉक अबाउट क्लैट 2024 25 में it was like a one-liner based questions थे or a two-liner based question. But when we talk about CLAT 22 23 थोड़े से heavy circumstances based question आए थे. तो that's why that field should have been given. Completely previous year के basis पे नहीं होना चाहिए. ठीक है, चलो. मतलब previous 2 years के basis पे, that is what I said. Next, the third paragraph talked about the legal provision related to again the one who has been accused should be informed about the grounds of arrest. Again moderate रखा है. The only reason for this moderate part is the only reason for the moderate part was कि अगेन रिलेटेड विद करंट लीगल पार्ट था. सो टॉपिक स्टैटिक है. मतलब हमारे ऑलरेडी फंडामेंटल राइट्स में ऑलरेडी बीन प्रोवाइडेड इन द आर्टिकल दैट यू शुड बी इन्फॉर्म द ग्राउंड्स. बट I think Article 15 may it is somewhere being there. You can just put up in the comments and let us know what article it talks about. So that is what the legal provision was. इसलिए paragraph moderate है but language was not difficult. ठीक है, तो इसलिए I've kept it on moderate. Easy नहीं था because related with current legal. So next we have, so the questions were comparatively easy. सारे 6 question में से only 2 question moderate. Again उसमें से what you have understood, so you have to read all 4 options and then put up an answer to that. That's why fourth and fifth question related with the first one. But first में doable था, topic was easy. That's why इधर पे moderate किया, first में it was not moderate. The fourth paragraph was related. Now the fourth and the fifth paragraph was comparatively on the difficult side, if I say. ओवरऑल अगर दे मॉडरेट टू डिफिकल्टी, इसलिए लास्ट वाले को मॉडरेट टू डिफिकल्ट रखा है बिकॉज इट वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट समथिंग अ न्यू लॉ जो असम पर्टिकुलर स्टेट बेस्ड लॉ था. सो दैट्स व्हाई ओवरऑल अटेम्प्ट्स इसमें कंपैरेटिवली कम एंड द स्कोर साइमल्टेनियसली रिड्यूस. नहीं तो नॉर्मली इन लीगल स्टूडेंट्स आर एबल टू स्कोर 28 29 एंड यू गेट डिप्रेस. बट इफ यू स्कोर बिटवीन 25 26 27 इट्स कंप्लीटली फाइन. अच्छा है, ठीक है. So talking about this particular paragraph, it was overall moderate. The topic was not a regular topic. लगातार नहीं पढ़ते हैं. It is one in the month you read about this. So Indian defense exports and humanitarian law से related था. So इसलिए kept it on moderate. Only one question was easy because if you have understood the paragraph, that would have been the direct one. But all questions moderate because the framing of the options were not very easy to read about it. So that's why all remaining 5 questions were moderate. Talking about the last part, that is in the legal reasoning, the passage is about the Assam new arm license and related provisions to that. So there were combination of 2 laws. तो आपको extract में it was already given कि ये topic कहाँ से लिया हुआ है. That's why it became to be moderate to difficult. तो इसमें से कुछ question, अगर 2 to 3 question or maybe 4 questions you have not attempted, it's fine. That's why I've kept attempt near about 25 से 27 के बीच में. If you would have left it, but गलत भी हो गए तो it's okay. That's why the score range between 24 to 25. So that is it for the legal reasoning section, but we'll not end it up over here. Now I'm going to call Gaurav sir, who will going to take you for the current affairs, including GK. ठीक है.
Thank you, Siddhant. Yes, let's start with current affairs section. Am I audible properly? So this current affairs section, including general knowledge, there were 5 passages in this mock test. and we have kept the level of difficulty of this overall section and 5 passages at easy to moderate level. Now there were 5 passages. First 3 passages were about National Film Awards. The second was about SIR that is being conducted in Bihar and political parties. And the third was Sustainable Development Growth and Sustainable Development Report. The first 3 passages are on the easy or easy to moderate level. Let's start with passage 1, which was about 71st National Film Award. And also the all of the questions, it revolved around 71st National Film Award as well as Dada Sahab Phalke Award. Now the first question, if you have read Dada Sahab Phalke Award and the static of that award, you must have, it was easy to solve this question. Second, the second, third, and fourth question, all of them were related to National Film Award and the static part of it. Which movie won the National Award? Additionally, which was the first full-length movie of India? The answer is Raja Harish Chandra. It is a static of National Film Award as well as Indian film industry. So all of these 5 questions were on the easy level. The last question, question number 5 of this passage, it talked about different. If you have read 71st National Film Award and all of the awards that were given to Best Director, Best Movie, Best Actor, only after that you will be able to solve this question. That's why we have kept it on a moderate level. Now, the second passage, it is on Election Commission and SIR that is being conducted in Bihar, right? So, majorly the questions focused on Election Commission and related to it also the political parties, right? So, in our magazine, in last month's magazine, we have given this topic called registered and non-registered political parties, and the questions were from that topic only. The first question it is asked is which one is not a national party? It was given in the magazine. First and second question were directly from the magazine. If you have read properly the magazine, the current affairs and general knowledge, it would be easy for you. But sometimes we miss the subjective part of the passage, subjective part of the topic. That's why we have kept it on moderate level. Third and fourth question, it asked who is the Chief Election Commissioner of the India? Very easy question. What is the term of Chief Election Commissioner? 6 year, easy question. Third and fourth. And the last is Election Commission of India, the article of the Constitution, moderate level, right? So in the first and second passage, out of around 10 questions, you must have attempted, you should have attempted around 8 to 9 questions without any major negative marking, right? Let's move to third passage. It is on Sustainable Development Goals, Sustainable Development Report, and Sustainable Development Goals 17 SDGs, SDR. It has been one of the favorite topics of CLAT and other entrance examination. They always ask some questions related to SDR, right? Now, if you have studied SDR properly, Niti Aayog report we have published, Niti Aayog report that the authority has published, we have given properly the markings and the bullet points regarding that in our magazine. So, this topic, there were 8 questions in this passage. Sustainable Development Report, when it started, easy question. Secondly, the second, third, and fourth question, if you have read the passage. Now, these 3 questions, they are from the passage itself. If you have read the passage properly, you will be able to solve the questions and eliminate the options which are not the answer. Now, elimination in these 3 questions, second, third, and fourth, was very easy because one option was going in a positive direction and the other 3 were going in just opposite direction. So if you have solved it using the elimination trick, you might have got the questions and the answers right, right? Now the last 4, the methodology of SDR's ranking, same elimination, say you must have solved the question, you would have solved the question, right? Now for last 3, 6, 7th and 8th, it asked ki India's policy advantage over many neighbors. Thoda specific question, but if you have read about SDR and SDGs, you will understand what is the importance or the advantage of India over the other neighbors. It is health, education, and welfare schemes that India provides. That's why we are ahead of other countries. Seventh and eighth questions I have marked it difficult. The reason is you have to go thoda in depth, and there are two options in which you will get stuck. That's why we have marked it difficult, on a difficult level. Let's move to fourth passage. Now, first three, I say first two are easy. Third is also easy, but I marked it moderate because of last two questions, right? Now, the last two passages. Passage 4, New START Treaty. Now, it has been on the news because of the summit that was held between America and Russia in Alaska. And after that, there was a discussion. There has been discussion regarding this New START Treaty. So, if you have read New START Treaty, there were two to three questions. There were two to three questions that were related to static only, static part of New Start policy, right? Now, first question, New Start treaty came into force in which year? If you have read the New Start policy, this is one of the superficial surface level question that is there. And same goes for fifth question, the New Start treaty where it was signed. The other three, question number 2, 3, 5, and 6, right? These are some in-depth questions regarding those regarding this topic. Ki limits imposed on New START treaty, you have to know the numbers of the warheads, and what is the other treaty related to New START treaty, what is it known? Last question number 5. So New START treaty, you have to read it in depth to solve this passage. That's why we have marked it moderate to difficult. Now, last passage, ISRO station selection in Ladakh. This is one of the most important topic of this year, and it is moderate to difficult because we have asked some in-depth questions in this passage. Now, let's go. Let's discuss the question one by one because it is one of the most important topic. ISRO has been asked in the last 5 years 2-3 times, and new station in Ladakh. It is an important topic. What is the full form of hope? An easy question. Where is the Sokar Valley in Ladakh? Why it is selected? Why the reason? Now, if you have read subjective pointers regarding this topic, because of its cold, saline, and low pressure environment, atmosphere, acronym of in space, when you read about different topics, one of the first is what is the short form, what is the full form of this particular space program? Easy question. 52nd, which of the following is the largest volcano in Mars for which we are developing this station? Now, one of the static questions of Mars, but it is connected to this topic. Fifth and sixth question. Fifth is from the passage. That's why I'm moderate. You have to read the passage. But the last one, BIOS 3 project, which country has developed? A moderate question. So there are many, not the surface level question, but thoda in-depth question in this passage. That's why this passage is on a moderate to difficult level. Overall, out of 30 questions in this mock SimTest 30, SimCLAT 30, you should have attempted about 20, around 22, 23, 24. And marks should be around 18 to 20. 20 should be a good mark in this passage. Now, after this, I call upon the other panelists to take this session forward. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Let me just quickly check if I'm clearly visible and audible. Okay, perfect. Yes, so let's discuss how was the quantitative technique section for this SimCLAT 30, which is the challenger mock, and it was the last SimCLAT of the season. So we from IMS team tried to test all the possible concepts that could have been or that could be asked in the actual CLAT exam. So we tried our best to make students prepared for any type of questions or any different type of concepts like which have not been previously asked, but there is a possibility of those concepts to be asked in upcoming CLAT, right? Even though you can say percentage, ratio, average, profit and loss has been the uh, major topics which CLAT focuses on, but we have made sure that we prepare our students for all the different scenarios, right? So if we talk about this SimCLAT in passage 1, it was about basics of profit and loss. So there were 5 commodities given to you with markup percentages and discount percentages. So what students were supposed to know are the basic concepts in profit and loss. What is the relation between cost price and mark price? What is the relation between mark price and selling price? How we should use markup percentage when cost price is given, how we can use markup percentage and calculate mark price, or how we can use discount percentage to calculate from mark price to selling price. All these basic concepts were tested in this passage. I have kept it moderate just because if any student was not aware or has not practiced these concepts thoroughly, then only it was a moderate set. If a student has sufficiently practiced profit and loss concepts, then this particular passage I think was doable. Almost you can attempt uh, if someone is good at profit and loss concepts, he or she would have attempted all the 6 questions. But still we have kept it moderate because if you make some mistakes in the concepts or someone is not like he has not sufficiently practiced these concepts, then it would be a moderate set for that particular student. So all the questions, as I said, were based completely on cost price, selling price, mark price, relation between these 3 prices, and how to use markup percentage, discount percentage, or profit percent, loss percent to calculate any of the missing values out of these 3 prices. So I have kept it moderate, but still it was expected that you should have attempted at this stage at least 3 to 4 questions from this particular set. If we talk about next set, it is a typical set that you can expect in actual CLAT. It was based on the concepts of on percentage and ratios. It was combination of both these topics, which is the favorite topic of CLAT examiner in quantitative techniques section. So I have kept this easy to moderate because some questions required calculation, and for all the different water bottle brands you required to tabulate all the values. So there were some different minerals composition was given, so percentage was given for one particular mineral and ratio was given for other 3 minerals. So this was the kind of passage. But once you tabulate all the values, then it was about your calculation speed, which is expected in actual CLAT. So if you are good at calculations, this passage I think one should have attempted 5 to 6 questions easily. So overall, in quantitative technique section, that's why we have kept a good attempt of 9 to 10 questions, expecting that a student solve 5 to 6 questions from this passage and 3 to 4 questions from previous passage that we discussed. So overall 9 to 10 would have been a good attempt, and a score of 6 to 7 would have been easily achievable. Those students who have practiced enough questions on profit loss percentage ratio, they could even score 9 to 10 or even beyond that in this particular SimCLAT. Okay, so one more set I will be discussing is analytical reasoning set that was asked in logical reasoning section. So from last year, CLAT is testing analytical reasoning as well in one of the sets of logical reasoning. So last year, CLAT tested the concepts of circular arrangement. So from IMS team, we have made sure that we prepare our students for different types of questions on linear arrangement, circular arrangement, matrix arrangement, which are quite possible this year if we go with the previous year's pattern. Now, passage number 4 from logical reasoning section was based on analytical reasoning concepts. It was based on matrix arrangement concept. So there were 8 persons given to you with different designations. Okay. So in this set, what was expected from you is there was some ranking given for these 8 designations. So if you would have tabulated the rankings from top to bottom in the given order as per their, you can say, hierarchy. So that would have been easier for you to solve. So ideally that was expected from a student, that the student writes all the different designations in the given hierarchy, and then the tabulating the data in matrix or a table would have been easier. And once you tabulate the data, then solving questions is not at all difficult. Then it is just looking at the table and giving the answers. So overall I have kept it moderate, but still I would expect 3 to 4 marks were easily achievable in this passage as well. Okay, so that was all from my side. Now I would request Dolly ma'am to take over, and she will analyze English as well as logical reasoning section for all of you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. This is Dolly, and I'll be helping you with the analysis of the English section and the logical reasoning section. I'll just share my screen. Yeah. I hope this is visible. Okay, so to start with, let me first give you an overall understanding of how this section was in terms of format and level of difficulty. So format, as you know, it was a replica of last year's CLAT. There were 4 passages with 6 questions each, totaling up to 24 questions. And in terms of the level of difficulty also, we have tried to mimic the level of difficulty of the SimCLAT of last year. So it is on easy to moderate, but more on the easier side. 3 reasons for that. One is that the passages were not too lengthy. The content was not very difficult. And the options, the length of the options were also not too long. The options were not too long, and the answers were easily identifiable. There were no close options except barring maybe 1 or 2 odd questions. Otherwise, all the other questions were doable. There was just one particular passage, which was the last passage, passage 4, which was on the difficult side. But otherwise, all the passages were easy to read. One of the other important things about this section you would have noticed is that we have tried to cover an entire spectrum of topics. So there were questions ranging from inference, main idea, tone, figures of speech, contextual vocabulary, even reasoning based questions. So that gives you a good exposure to any and whatever topic that may get tested in the actual CLAT. Given all of this, a total attempt of about 23 questions would have been nice, totaling to a score of say 22 or 20, 21 or 22. Let's get into a passage level discussion now. So passage 1 was philosophical reflection on the idea of hope. Now this is an abstract passage. What happens with an abstract passage is that certain times some students tend to get overwhelmed with the idea that has been presented in the passage. Typically, it so happens that the language is a bit dense to understand. However, in this particular passage, the topic is not very esoteric. It is something which is, you would have come across while you are reading editorials, or if you're fond of non-fiction books, you would have easily come across whatever has been discussed here. It's nothing new. So the level of difficulty is easy. In terms of questions, if you see that all of the questions are inference-based questions, as is the pattern that CLAT typically follows. Question number 1 requires you to understand or infer the meaning of a particular metaphor that has been used for hope. Question number 2 is contextual reading of darkness. So why is the author calling the future dark? What is the import of that? What is the meaning of that? Question number 3 is also inference based. Again, there are two specific references that have been made. One is the civil right movement and one is the climate action movement. And you need to identify what is the reason, what is the purpose of making those references. Again, on the easier side, mostly because the answer is very obvious. So you will not get tricked into answering the incorrect options are the ones where, either they are contradicting the passage or they are not related. So it's very easy to identify the correct answer. Question number 4 is easy to moderate because it talks about cynicism. Here, the problem is that if you've not clearly understood what cynicism is, the fact that it's just a sophisticated way of avoiding action. If you've not been able to understand that, you might get this incorrect. But again, for people who have good comprehension skills, it was an easy one. Question number 5, I have marked moderate because there are two very, very close options. It requires you to make inference, but there is an option with on naive optimism, and then there is an option on hope. And it's very tricky to get confused between those two options. And that is why this has been marked moderate. Question number 6 is an inference question. Again, easy to moderate. If you understood the main idea, this question would have been very easy. Overall, I would say that you should have attempted all 6 questions and gotten all 6 correct, barring maybe one. If question number 5, maybe you got tricked into marking the incorrect one. But otherwise, I think 6 is a very good score for this passage. Passage number 2. Now, as the title says, telepathy, science fiction, and Cold War research. This is not something that you would typically come across, right? The passage is lengthy. However, it is lengthy and a little bit dense also. It is analytical and information-driven passage. However, the questions are not very difficult. There are two very, very easy questions here on specific detail, which are for example, one particular question, which is question number 4, you just have to pick a term from the passage. Even if you've not understood the passage completely, this question would have been very easy. Question number 3, likewise, is a little bit of inference would be required, but again, that particular option, which is the correct answer, is a sentence directly taken from the passage. You don't have to tax your brain much. So these two questions were very easy. The other question, the first two questions were the ones which would have been a little tricky because they employ a little higher order thinking. You would need to typically, which is so for critical reasoning questions, you need to have comprehended the passage very, very well to be able to attempt those questions. So first and second, maybe a bit challenging. Fifth and sixth, again, sixth is a very easy question. The contextual meaning of stalemate was tested. Stalemate, again, is a very frequently used word. If you're reading editorials or news, you would have come across that. Also, even if you don't know the meaning of stalemate, the other options, the incorrect options were such where you could have eliminated them easily and you would have been able to arrive at the answer. Question number 5 is an inference question. There's a certain strategy which has been discussed and you need to apply that to real life situation. More on the easier side, I would say. So overall, for this particular passage, you should have attempted all the 6 questions, but you may go wrong with one odd question here and there. So 5 out of 6 would have been a good score. Moving on to the third passage. Coral bleaching causes and consequences. So this is a science-based passage, environment-based passage, very factual in nature, and also the questions are such which test your factual recall. So if you're good with your comprehension, good with retaining the facts, you could have easily sailed through this passage. Also, the topic is fairly covered, right? If you're reading news, if you following what's happening with, say, global warming or climate change, etc., this is one of the things that gets discussed. So you would have already been aware of what is coral bleaching, what causes it. So nothing esoteric, easy to read, easy to comprehend. However, I have kept it, I feel that it could have been challenging because some of the questions are moderate here. There are three specific detailed questions which would have been very easy to tackle. The inference based questions are also easy. So no, it would be more on the easier side, not on the moderate side. Question number 2, 4, and 5. Inference based, but again, easy to understand. So question number 2, for instance, is a little technical, where the process of the coral bleaching needs to be understood. If you understood that, this would have been easy, otherwise a little bit moderate. Question number 4 and 5. 4, there is a metaphor which has been used, and you need to interpret the metaphor. That I think it is the skeletal like invertebrate, which is what has been used for the coral reefs. And why has that been used? You need to infer that. But again, it's directly from the passage. It's been explained why they are called so. Question number 5, if you understood the gist of the passage, it is clearly not so much of an inference, but understanding what is the main idea of the passage. So overall, again, you need to attempt all 6 questions, and a score of 5 would have been all right for this passage. Coming to passage number 4. Now, this passage is by far the most difficult passage in this section. The reason being that this is an extract from a novel by Jhampa Lahiri, and it's a literary analysis. Now, typically what happens with such extracts is that it is not a simple comprehension of passage, which is important, but then there are layered meanings. There is use of symbolism. You need to understand what the author is trying to communicate in, when he or she is using certain backdrop against which the story unfolds, or the character sketch of the people who are a part of that story. All of that you need to understand, and there is a hidden meaning to all of that. It's kind of poetic in nature. So someone who is not very good with reading novels and understanding the import of all of that will struggle with this passage. Also, another reason is that the questions are not too easy. They are not specific detailed questions. All of those questions, they require time and they require proper understanding. So barring one question, which is a main idea question, which anyone could have attempted, all other questions require higher order thinking, and hence it makes this passage challenging. If you have to talk about individual questions, question number 2 tested you on the tone. However, there are very, very close options. People would have gotten confused between melancholic and bitter, where melancholy is the actual tone and not bitter. Question number 3 requires you to understand the symbolic meaning of, I think, yeah, yeah. I think when there is power outage, what is the reason for that? As in, what is the significance of utilizing that particular scene? And it's not given in the passage, but you have to understand that when the author is trying to employ this symbolism, there are layered meanings to it. For instance, in this case, when the couple is forced to sit across each other in a dark room, they are starkly facing the grief that has seeped into their life, the loss of their child. And at the same time, the darkness also reflects upon the darkness in their life. So all of this will not be readily available as answers in the passage. It's something that you understand. Question number 4 is a figure of speech question. Again, not very easy because the figures of speech is not your typical simile or metaphor. If you don't know what these figures of speech are, you will get this question wrong. Question number 5 and 6 are extremely difficult, I would say, because you have to go through multiple options and then select which is the right answer. Question number 6, I would, out of this entire section, question number 6 is one which I would say that ideally you should not have attempted at all, because the passage is dense and the options are very lengthy and difficult to understand. So overall, for this particular passage, 5 questions would have been a good attempt. Out of that, if you get 3 or 4 correct, it would have been a good score. So that wraps up our English language section. Coming on to logical reasoning section. A comprehensive view of this entire section. To start with, I have rated this entire section as moderate. 3 reasons for that: lengthy passages, like really lengthy passages. The options are also not very short. They run into multiple sentences, and the content is a little bit challenging to comprehend, right? Most questions are inference based, which is the pattern that CLAT follows. In terms of format, yeah, there are 3 verbal reasoning based question passages, and one is your data interpretation set. Out of these 3 passages, there is one which is a decision making caselet. Overall, I would say that if you have attempted about 20 questions and be able to score 17, 18 or 18 plus, it would have been a really good score. Moving on to passage level discussion. So passage 1 talks about screen time and child development. Now, what the passage is all about is, again, not very difficult. You would have come across similar content elsewhere. It talks about basically early exposure of human beings to screen and the impact it has on human brain development. Question wise, if you so sir, there are several arguments and assertions that are made across the passage, and it's very important to comprehend them well, because there are so many questions which are based on that. If you're not understood the arguments, you will get the questions incorrect. So question number 1 is the main idea question. Again, easy. Question number 2 is an assumption based question. There is a certain assertion that has been made, and you need to infer what is the underlying assumption. Question number 3 and 4 are particularly challenging because it deals with hypothetical situation. What happens with these kind of questions is that there is no one single concept which is tested, right? You have everything comes into play, what inferences you're drawing, what conclusions you're drawing, and being able to apply that in real life situation. So for instance, question number 4 requires you to weaken one of the conclusions, and question number 3, question number 4 requires you to strengthen the author's position. Question number 5 is an evaluation based question. So hypothetically, if parents were to allow children some screen time, what would have been a relevant question for them to answer? So that is what it tests. Moderate level, because again, the answer is not directly available. And question number 6 is, which of the following options the author most likely agrees with? This one is easy because you can easily rule out the incorrect options. So overall, all 6 attempts should be there, but if you get a score of 5, that would be good enough. Moving on to passage number 2, climate policy, and so this is your decision making caselet, where you are in charge of making the 10-year strategy to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. This caselet would have been by far one of the toughest decision-making caselets you would have come across in all the SimCLATs. The reason being that there are several constraints that have been introduced, and the questions that when you are tackling the questions, you need to be aware of all these constraints that have been put. And these concerns range from political, technological, to the impact your decision would have on several stakeholders. So all of that makes this very, very challenging. Question number 1 is an assumption-based question, but this is on the easier side, I would say, because you can employ your common sense and be able to get this answer correct. There is nothing much that you really have to infer out of the passage. Question number 2 is a critical reasoning question. 3 likewise is a critical reasoning question. Both of these are moderate. Question number 2 requires you to identify the evidence which strengthens the urgency for the government to act on reducing the greenhouse emissions. And question number 3, you need to find an option that weakens the concern of one of the stakeholders. But these are difficult questions because, again, higher order thinking is required. Question number 4 is a course of action question. So this is the real decision-making question where, considering all the challenges that have been presented in the passage, you are now asked to find the best possible solution. Typically, in caselets like this, you will find the course of action. 1 or 2 course of action questions will be asked. So you need to be ready for that. And typically, they will be difficult because you have to collectively think of all the stakeholders and then come to your conclusion. Also, the options are quite subjective, but there will be hints which will help you eliminate the incorrect options. Question number 6 is parallel reasoning. Again, because it is parallel reasoning, you have to apply your understanding to a different situation and then find the answer. So, which makes this also very challenging. So it is moderate. In this particular passage, if you've been able to attempt 5 questions and get 3 or 4 correct, that would have been really nice. Moving on to the last passage, passage number 3, the psychology behind modern gaming, motivation and addiction. Now, this as a topic, is not something which you would have not heard about. It is fairly covered in a lot of content. You typically know that video gaming is so addictive. So I think that this is more on the easier side than the moderate side. The questions are also, as you can see, they are not too challenging. The passage definitely is quite lengthy, but it is something that when you read it, you will understand it. Nothing challenging in terms of having to comprehend anything, right? It's information driven, analytical kind of passage, but easy to attempt. Question number 1 is inference. This is a moderate question, the lone moderate question in the entire passage. The rest of the questions are easy. Critical reasoning, course of action, author's agreement, main idea, parallel reasoning. So even though they are reasoning questions, you would have been able to eliminate the incorrect options fairly easily, which makes this more on the easier side than on the moderate, and hence you should have attempted all 6 questions and gotten all 6 correct. Yeah, so that's about it. That brings us to the end of logical reasoning section and this session. Over to you, Siddhant.